Why do humans have so many holidays? Chapter 1. The holiday horror begins. The humans have deployed another glitter bomb? Captain Grobnar wasn't prone to panic. After all, he once negotiated peace with the screaming worms of Sector 92B while being slowly digested. But this was different. This was Earth. Grobnar's eye stalks quivered as he leaned closer to the shimmering chaos playing on the holoscreen. A red-suited Earthling, species Homo sapiens, subclass, inexplicably enthusiastic, was dancing on what appeared to be an inflatable moose. No, a reindeer? No matter. The important part was that the creature was giggling maniacally while hurling glitter-packed orbs into a crowd of squealing younglings. "It's called Christmas, sir," Ambassador Xarnathi murmured behind him, voice strained like someone trying to explain fire to a fish. "It is one of the humans' major seasonal rituals." Grobnar blinked, slowly. "Last week," he said, with the calm of someone trying not to scream, "they were worshipping skeletons and intentionally scaring each other with decayed produce." "Yes, that was Halloween," Xarnathi nodded solemnly. "Highly popular, primarily sugar-based." Grobnar turned back to the screen just in time to witness a large Earthling get tackled into a pile of synthetic snow by a smaller Earthling dressed as a giant cookie. The crowd around them cheered. There were bells. There were lights. There was some kind of yodeling goat. "What is happening?" Grobnar hissed, clutching his thoracic cavity. "They call it celebration, sir." Grobnar spun on his heel pad. "We have observed them for 3 rotations. 3. In that time, they have staged no fewer than 19 ritual events. One of them involved the ceremonial launching of explosive tubes into the sky. Another required dancing around a tree and threatening each other with mistletoe. There was even one where they cooked a giant bird and then proceeded to fight over flat screens." Xarnathi flinched. "Ah, yes, that was Black Friday. Very sacred." Grobnar stared at him. "They worship discounted consumer goods?" "Only temporarily," Xarnathi offered, "and violently." Grobnar slowly lowered himself into his command pod, eye twitching. "How are they not extinct?" That question had haunted every member of the Galactic High Council since Earth was placed under observation. Statistically speaking, humanity should have imploded long ago. The sheer volume of open flames, loud noises, and sugar consumption per capita defied logic. Add to that their alarming habit of inventing reasons to party. Talk like a pirate day, National Donut Day, bring your lizard to work week. And the fact that they did all this while still maintaining a functioning society made them a mystery wrapped in absurdity, topped with whipped cream and set on fire. "It's almost like," Grobnar whispered, his voice distant, "they thrive on chaos." Xarnathi nodded. "Some researchers believe they generate psychological stability by destabilizing everything around them, like a controlled implosion, only with fireworks and confetti." Grobnar's eye narrowed. "Are you telling me these beings intentionally create disorder to manage their emotional well-being?" Xarnathi hesitated, then nodded again. "And it's surprisingly effective. They release tension communally, often while wearing costumes, dancing, or engaging in combat simulations disguised as sporting events." Grobnar pointed at the screen, which now showed humans in red and green sweaters screaming at a glowing tree while a man in a fake beard pretended to be omniscient. "That is stress relief?" "In Earth culture," Xarnathi said carefully, "yes, they express joy through excessive decoration and mild property damage." The screen changed. Now hundreds of humans were gathered in a snowy plaza, chanting together as a giant sphere of light descended from a skyscraper. At the exact moment it hit the ground, everyone exploded into shouting, kissing, crying, and in at least one case, synchronized breakdancing. Xarnathi sighed. New Year's Eve. Grobnar stared in horror. Did they just celebrate time? "They do it every year," Xarnathi said, rubbing his cranial fin. "And every year, they promise to do better. Then they go right back to microwaving cheese and fighting about taxes." Grobnar covered his face with 2 tentacles. "This is madness. We cannot reason with these creatures. We cannot predict them. They honor eggs, rabbits, trees, paper hearts, undead ghouls, mythical birds, and occasionally, ground-dwelling mammals that predict the weather?" "Yes," Xarnathi confirmed. "The groundhog. Very important to agriculture." Grobnar sat in stunned silence. The council had tasked him with understanding humanity, assessing them, judging whether Earth could join the intergalactic concord, or whether they were a threat to the cosmic balance. He had expected resistance, arrogance, maybe even war. He had not expected this: sprinkles, glitter, carnivals in the dead of winter. Annual mass gatherings to watch a rodent emerge from a hole and decide the length of the season. He had expected enemies. What he found instead was unfiltered absurdity. And yet, they're still here, Grobnar whispered, still alive, still dancing in the snow and setting off miniature explosives for joy. How have they not torn themselves apart? Zichther lowered his voice. Maybe that is their strength. Grobnar looked at him. Zichther smiled faintly. They find meaning in the meaningless. They turn boredom into rituals, grief into song, confusion into celebration. They don't just survive chaos, Captain. They party in it. Grobnar didn't respond. He just stared at the screen, where a human in a dinosaur costume was now being crowned King of the Winter Parade. He shuddered, and for the first time in his career, he felt fear. Grobnar had picked the invasion date carefully. After months of study, analysis, and intense psychological profiling of Earth's behavior, his team had determined that the humans would be at their most vulnerable on a curious date marked April 1st. The data was clear. No major war festivals, no fire-based celebrations, no strange dancing with inflatable poultry. The humans were oddly calm around this time. Quiet, passive, distracted. It was perfect. Grobnar stood before his invasion council, confidence radiating from every inch of his exoskeletal posture. They call it April Fool's Day, he announced, talon extended over a holographic Earth. A minor cultural event, largely focused on. He hesitated, scrolling through his notes. Deception, false information sharing, and toilet humor? There was a pause. Ambassador Zichther raised a hesitant tendril. Is it not dangerous to attack during a day based on trickery, sir? Grobnar snorted. Please, they glue office chairs, they swap sugar with salt, they pretend their pets can talk. This is the intellectual equivalent of tossing wet noodles at a wall. They're unprepared, unarmed, distracted by their own foolishness. He pointed dramatically at the map. We strike at dawn. And so they did. Cloaked warships slid through Earth's upper atmosphere like whispers in the dark. The humans were none the wiser. In fact, many were too busy filming each other pretending to get fired, kidnapped by aliens, or attacked by sentient vacuum cleaners. Earth's data networks were flooded with laughter, emojis, and looped videos of small dogs wearing sunglasses and announcing they were running for mayor. It was objectively madness. Grobnar didn't care. The target was a facility in the region known as Silicon Valley, a hub of advanced computation, communication, and, according to Earth's own broadcasts, technology worship. If the invasion succeeded here, the planet's central nervous system would collapse. Elite troopers were deployed, stealth tech active, no resistance, no alarms, until they entered the buildings. It started small. One trooper sat on a rolling chair that immediately collapsed into a pile of springs and glitter. Another pulled open a door and was met with a full cascade of styrofoam packing peanuts and balloons filled with maple syrup. A third stepped on a floor tile rigged with something called a whoopee cushion, triggering a sound so deeply confusing that he momentarily thought he had ruptured a ventricle. Grobnar, monitoring from the command deck, frowned. Report. Sir, came the reply, static-laced and strained. They've modified the environment. What do you mean modified? Everything is booby-trapped in whimsical ways. Suddenly, the feed caught a trooper sprinting down a hallway, screaming, his armor covered in what appeared to be whipped cream and sticky notes. Behind him, humans were laughing, while tossing something called Jell-O down the stairs. Grobnar stared in disbelief. Are they defending their base with gelatin-based ambush tactics? Cthulhu leaned in. Sir, I think this might be part of the event. Grobnar turned slowly. What? Well, it is April Fool's Day. Perhaps this is normal to them? Normal? Grobnar shouted, slamming a tentacle on the console. One of our soldiers just got duct taped to a vending machine. More reports came in. Trooper Zarl accidentally triggered a device that deep-faked his face onto a famous Earth entertainer. He was now trending on the internet under the name Lil Shrimp. Trooper Zeke walked into a meeting room and was immediately hit with confetti cannons and a group of engineers yelling, "Surprise! You're our new intern." He hasn't been seen since. Grobnar watched in horror as the operation disintegrated into a parade of pies, prank calls, and tactical glitter grenades. This is psychological warfare, he whispered. No, sir. Ziegler said softly, "This is Tuesday. For them." The humans were not panicking. They were celebrating, laughing, filming, uploading. One had even offered a trooper a cupcake labeled "Totally Not a Bomb," which exploded in a harmless burst of rainbow powder and confetti. The trooper screamed and fled through a wall. Earth's defenses were non-existent. And yet, they were winning, not through violence, not through force, but through sheer absurdity, through chaos so dense and so intentional that it broke every known rule of engagement. Grobnar clenched his mandibles. "Abort the mission." Ziegler blinked. "Sir?" "I said abort." Grobnar spun to the crew. "Get our troops out of there before someone else gets turned into a meme." It was too late for some. Trooper Rills was now a TikTok sensation after slipping on 30 banana peels in a row. Trooper Vac had been caught in a fake elevator prank and was still stuck between floors, being offered pizza by a child with a drone. The invasion failed, not because of human strength, but because humanity, utterly, unapologetically, refused to make sense. As the last troop transport escaped the lower atmosphere, Grobnar stared at the blue marble fading behind them. He didn't feel relief. He felt dread. Because if this was how they responded to a prank holiday, what would they do on something serious? He didn't want to find out. And as Earth lit up below them in fireworks made from soda and candy and lawn chairs turned into rockets, Grobnar uttered the words that would be recorded forever in the galactic archives. "We invaded on the Day of Fools, and we were not ready." Grobnar had failed. The mission was a glitter-splattered disaster, and his elite troops were still trying to scrub peanut butter out of their vents. One of them had developed a permanent twitch every time someone said the word prank. Morale was shattered. Dignity, non-existent. Back on the mothership, Grobnar stood in front of the Council's emergency holoconference, still partially covered in silly string. "We underestimated them," he said hoarsely. The Council blinked slowly, their many eyes wide with disbelief. "Underestimated humans?" Chancellor Drilg finally asked. "The species with low gravity tolerance, inconsistent logic, and emotional support water bottles?" Grobnar nodded grimly. "Yes, but there's more." He tapped a console and pulled up new footage. It was footage of a park in a place called Wisconsin. Humans had gathered around a large inflatable castle, chanting and cheering as two of their own, dressed as fruit, battled with foam swords while bouncing violently. Grobnar zoomed in. There were snacks, loud music, children wielding balloons shaped like swords, adults in costume, laughter. "Observe," Grobnar said, gesturing. "This is not a defense system. This is a child's party." "But sir," interjected Councillor Xarn, "what possible threat could—" "The winner," Grobnar interrupted, "was crowned king of the park and immediately led a parade of dancing dinosaurs through the shopping district. 3 hours later, a local government official signed a document officially recognizing the event as Fruit Battle Day. It is now an annual celebration." A long silence followed. "They create holidays out of nothing," Grobnar whispered. "They turn total nonsense into cultural traditions. And it spreads, like a contagion of absurdity. They don't just survive chaos, they build shrines to it." He pulled up another clip. Humans gathered in a desert, constructing massive art sculptures, wearing neon feathers and top hats, offering grilled cheese to strangers in exchange for compliments. No currency, no structure, just dust, fire, and dancing. "This one," Grobnar said, "is called Burning Man." Councillor Verg raised a trembling claw. Are they at war?" "No," Grobnar replied. "They're at a festival." Another clip. This one more chilling. A group of humans in brightly colored jumpsuits huddled together in a convention hall, clutching plush toys and screeching joyfully about lore. Thousands of them. Cosplaying, role-playing, reenacting imaginary conflicts with terrifying intensity. "This one is called Comic-Con," Grobnar said, voice barely above a whisper. "They simulate mass conflict, political intrigue, and species alliances for fun. They play at galactic war like it's a weekend hobby, and they're good at it." He turned to the Council. "They've been training for first contact. Not officially, not organized, but subconsciously. Through film, games, stories, they've imagined thousands of scenarios. First contact, invasions, negotiations, abductions, romance. They've written entire epics, some even romanticize us. Others," he cleared his throat, "involve defeating entire alien empires using only love, dubstep, or microwave burritos." "Microwave what?" Chancellor Drilg asked, blinking all 9 eyes at once. Grubnar didn't answer. He just stared into the middle distance, as if remembering something painful. Something involving a strange food fight and an explosion that smelled of fake cheese. And that's not all, he continued. We tried to offer a peace gift, a token of truce, a crystalline monument carved from the moons of Zorvax, humming with quantum music. He gestured toward the next footage. A group of humans had gathered around the monument and decorated it, with googly eyes, pipe cleaners, yarn. Someone had placed a plastic flamingo at the top. A child had stuck a sticker that read, "Space Friends Forever." We were adopted, Grobnar said flatly. The council gasped. Humans assimilate threats. They turn invasion into celebration. They make terrifying things cute. And then they keep us. A brief silence. Then Drilg spoke. You're saying they disarmed your entire operation through misinterpretation? Grobnar nodded. Yes, and arts and crafts. Someone at the back of the chamber audibly choked. They are not chaotic by accident, Grobnar continued, voice trembling. They weaponize misunderstanding. They create confusion fields powered by sarcasm, wordplay, and inflatable decorations. We tried to conquer them. They invited us to a barbecue and made us wear matching t-shirts. He pointed dramatically. Do you understand what that means? Nobody moved. Grobnar stared at them all, panting. They will never fear us, not because they are stronger, not because they are smarter, but because they are already too weird to be afraid. They live with unpredictable weather, unstable politics, malfunctioning AI, clowns, TikTok, and reality TV. And somehow, they choose to keep going. They laugh in the face of danger, because they've seen worse on a Tuesday afternoon. At that moment, the emergency broadcast from Earth cut in. A new event was trending. National Scream into the Void Day. Grobnar fell silent as the screen showed thousands of humans standing in fields, parking lots, bathrooms, and rooftops, all screaming into the sky, together, in harmony, for no particular reason. Xarnathi leaned in beside him and whispered, Sir, do you think they know we're watching? Grobnar didn't answer, because deep in his hearts, he suspected they did, and they were toying with him. As the humans screamed at the sky, wrapped in blankets, holding mugs that said, Don't talk to me until I've screamed at the void, Grobnar finally slumped into his command chair and whispered what no galactic commander had ever dared say before. We've made a terrible mistake. Grobnar was done. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, literally, physically, existentially, done. He sat slumped in the captain's chair aboard the Vigilant Silence, which now resembled less of a flagship and more of a half-decorated party barge. Someone, probably Trooper Kex, had left a string of solar-powered fairy lights blinking along the command console. There were stickers on the view screen. Actual stickers. One of them featured a grinning earth creature saying, Hang in there, while clinging to a branch. Grobnar didn't even know what kind of threat it was supposed to be. His crew was traumatized. Not by war, not by weapons, by hospitality. Overwhelming, unsolicited, aggressively enthusiastic hospitality. They had barely escaped Earth's gravity well, dragging their dignity behind them in a metaphorical sack full of glitter and emotional damage. And yet, the humans weren't done. It started with a ping, then a chime, then a melodic ringtone that none of them had ever authorized. The central communications hub began lighting up with incoming transmissions from Earth. Not military hails, not official responses. Invitations. Come back for Barbecue Night. You guys left your helmet, lol. We made alien-shaped cookies. Grobnar stared, slack-jawed, as thousands, literally thousands of messages flooded the system. Some were formal. Some were written in emojis. One simply said, Y'all cool. Bring snacks next time. What is happening? He croaked. Xarnathi didn't respond immediately. He was too busy crying softly into a borrowed earth pillow that said, Live, laugh, love. Grobnar stood, slowly, painfully, like a creature rising from the ashes of its own pride. We attempted invasion, he said quietly, almost to himself. They responded with themed cupcakes and parade floats. He turned to his exhausted crew. They should have feared us. Silence. They should have panicked. They should have rallied, screamed, resisted. He gestured wildly at the screen. But instead, they gave us names. Nicknames. I was Cap'n Squidface to one of their children for 6 hours. He stomped over to the console and hit play on one of the latest transmissions. The screen flickered, then revealed a cheerful human couple standing in front of a large banner that read, "Welcome back, Space Buddies." The woman beamed. "We know y'all were just confused. Happens. Anyway, we're doing a potluck on Saturday, so if you're in the galaxy, feel free to drop by. We made vegan options for the tentacle guy." The tentacle guy was Grobnar. Tither whispered, "Sir, we're famous now." Grobnar snapped. No, we are not famous. We are not ambassadors. We are not even threats anymore." He paced furiously. "We are mascots. They've turned our defeat into content. There's a plush toy of me on sale in their online store, and it squeaks when you hug it." Another ping. New notification. "Grobnar plushie gets 5 stars. So soft. My dog loves chewing his little angry face." The room fell silent. Something broke inside him. Something deep, something ancient, possibly ancestral. He looked up, expression blank, eyes twitching. "We're leaving this system immediately." Zither straightened. "Where to, sir?" Grobnar didn't blink. "Anywhere that isn't Earth." The command was given. Warp cores activated. Engines hummed to life with a chorus of reluctant beeps that sounded somehow embarrassed. As the ship pulled away from the blue planet, Grobnar couldn't help but glance back one last time. Earth was waving at him. Not metaphorically. On the surface, in some large desert region, humans had arranged actual reflective panels into a massive smiley face, visible from orbit. A note beside it, spelled out in abandoned vehicles and inflatable pool toys, read, "Come back soon." Grobnar turned away and muttered, "I would rather fly into a supernova." The council later received his resignation via transmission. It was short, blunt, slightly singed. It read, "Do not send another delegation. Earth is a Class 8 cognitive hazard. Also, they have a holiday called National Bean Day. No further explanation needed." The final logs of the Vigilant Silence contain one last entry, spoken in a quiet, broken voice and later broadcast across 3 sectors as a cautionary tale. "We thought they were disorganized. We thought they were primitive. We thought we would destroy them with ease. But they embraced us, named us, fed us, dressed us in costumes, and turned our invasion into a TikTok trend. They didn't fight us. They invited us to brunch, and in doing so, they broke us. Beware the humans, for when you come with conquest, they come with confetti." And thus, the galactic threat assessment for humanity was officially updated. Species, Homo sapiens. Status, unclear. Dangerous, possibly cursed. Approach with extreme caution and snacks. Somewhere on Earth, a child dressed as Grobnar danced in a TikTok video titled, "When the Aliens Try to Take Over But You Offer Them Tacos." It hit 8 million views by the time the Vigilant Silence left the solar system. No one ever tried to invade Earth again, because deep down, across galaxies and empires, no one wanted to be the next meme.